During the 1960s, many important events happened that helped America grow and expand. Some important events that happened were the many civil rights acts that took place during this decade. The first Civil Rights Act of 1960 introduced penalties to be levied against anybody who obstructed someone's attempt to register to vote or someone's attempt to actually vote. A Civil Rights Commission was created due to this issue. The next act was the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This act was a federal law that authorized federal action against segregation in public accommodations, public facilities, and employment. The next act was the Civil Rights Act of 1968. This was when Congress passed the act in an effort to impose the comprehensive solution to a problem of unlawful discrimination in housing based on race, color, sex, national origin, or religion. As the civil rights continued going on during this decade, it helped started another important event in America's history. This event was known as the Stonewall Riots. The Stonewall Riots in New York City marked the modern-day gay movement in the U.S. This was known as the Civil Rights Movement and was very important to Americans. During the decades of 1960s, gays were not able to be openly gay. They had to hide who they really were and who they really loved. This was because it was looked down on to be gay during this time. As the year went on, in 1962, the military discriminated against homosexuals and they didn't let them serve their country. Also during this time, if someone was openly gay, they could be imprisoned for being out. Basically, if you were to come out, there would be really bad consequences. Society treated homosexuals terribly. They were shunned if they were openly gay, and they couldn't really do anything at this point. They would be discriminated against, and they weren't served in certain places. Also, society would say they weren't proper and they were in the wrong and say hurtful things to homosexuals. Homosexuals could also be in prison for being openly gay. During this time, gay people were scared to be openly gay, so they had certain places to be out and free. This place was known as the Stonewall Inn. This was a bar that homosexuals came to be open and met other homosexuals. They didn't tell anyone about this place. They did everything on the low, and not many people knew about it.
In 1969, police raids on gay bars occurred regularly. It was illegal to serve gay people alcohol or for gays to dance with one another. During a typical raid, the lights were turned on. The customers were lined up and their identification checked. Those without identification or dressed in full drag were arrested. Women were required to wear 3 pieces of feminine clothing and would be arrested at 1:20 in the morning on Saturday, June 28, 1969. 8 police officers arrived at the Stonewall Inn. Approximately 200 people were in the bar that night. But the raid did not go as planned. This time the patrons refused to cooperate. The police decided to take everyone present to the police station, but the patrol wagons had not yet arrived, so patrons were required to wait in line for about 15 minutes. Those who were not arrested were released from the front door, but they did not leave quickly as usual. Instead, they stopped outside and a crowd began to grow and watch. The crowd tried to overturn the police wagon. Pennies, then beer bottles were thrown at the wagon, then bricks. The police were then outnumbered by about 600 people. 10 police officers barricaded themselves inside the Stonewall Inn for their own safety. Garbage cans, bottles, rocks, and bricks were hurled at the building, breaking the windows. A parking meter was uprooted and used as a battering ram on the doors of the Stonewall. The tactical police force of the New York City Police Department finally arrived to free the police trapped inside the Stonewall, and with the larger police force, they then detained anyone they could and put them in patrol wagons to go to jail. News of the riots spread quickly throughout Greenwich Village, and the next night, rioting again surrounded Christopher Street. Thousands of people gathered in front of the Stonewall, which had opened again, choking Christopher Street until the crowd spilled into adjoining blocks. Fires were started in garbage cans throughout the neighborhood. More than 100 police arrived again, and the street battling ensued until 4 o'clock in the morning.
There was many consequences that came with the price of being gay or a lesbian. A lot of gays were disowned by their own family members. A lot of them lost their jobs of employment for being known as a homosexual. If being caught with another man, your name was printed on the daily newspaper for the whole town to know you were gay. You would be exposed to everyone. Also, a lot of homosexuals were blackmailed most of the time. A lot of them went to jail for consensual sex with another man. A lot of them were tossed out of their apartments, losing their homes, and ended up in the streets, homeless, and brutally beaten by police officers if caught at gay bars.
In this day and age, gay and lesbian rights aren't so frowned upon as it was in the past, like during the Civil War and Great Depression. There are many more openly gay and lesbian people. Most of us are more accepting to gay and lesbian rights and are in the fight for gay and lesbian marriage. There are 16 states that are legal for gay and lesbian marriage, including our very own California. But on the other hand, there's 33 states that are against it, and one state, New Mexico, that isn't for it or against it, and still does not have a civil law on it. The big question that stumps many people today is gay and lesbian rights. Is it either a human right or a civil right? In many opinions, I believe that gay marriage should be a civil right because we are a free country in the United States. Civil rights mean that all opportunities are open and available to every citizen of this country. Therefore, if gay people have basic human rights, then they should also have civil rights in marriage, but others have their own opinion and say that homosexuality marriage should be human rights because they shouldn't get mixed up with civil rights and interfere with marriage laws, which also affiliates with churches which are also against homosexual marriage. I believe the Stonewall riots was the start of homosexual fight against everyone and their thoughts, and actually showing that they are out there and they can't change how they are. I think homosexuals should have a civil right because they are human and have their own freedom.
How long have you been openly gay?
I have been openly gay for 5 years now.
How did you come out?
I came out when I first had my first girlfriend.
How was that?
It was hard. I had to hide, and my sisters were always mad at me because they saw me hanging out with this girl, and they were like confused. But then I knew they know.
Well, how did your parents react if you told them?
If I told them, they would have known already. Seeing from how I am, personality, and how I am outside, how I'm dressed and everything. So it wouldn't be shocker, but they would have to like understand it and accept it.
What gave you the courage to actually come out?
I don't know. I just grew confidence, and I started realizing it's like, hey, I need to start being myself, and shouldn't hide my feelings towards anyone at all.
After you came out, did you feel relieved that you can be yourself, or did you feel like scared?
At first, I was scared because I thought I wasn't going to be accepted, but I knew who the real people were in my life, and they accepted me for who I am. Some people don't know, but they don't need to know. If they want to know, they want to know, but yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So, how did you feel when you heard that California is now allowing same-sex marriage?
I got off my bed and started jumping. We're all equal now. Anybody can marry whoever they want to marry.
So, like, what was the first thought that you came through your head? Was it that you were able to marry who you wanted, and, like, you were happy, or were you just like, oh my god, the law passed?
I was happy because the law passed, and the fact that marriage doesn't have to be ruled by any sex. By a certain sex. It can be any sex